Thank you, everyone, and thank you for tuning into this talk. My name is Israel Ekpo, and I am a cloud solutions architect representing Microsoft Global Partner Solutions. In my role at Microsoft, I work with several partners, like ISV partners and service partners and customers that are building solutions on Microsoft Azure that are leveraging Elasticsearch as one of the core components of the solutions that they're providing. So in this particular talk, I'm going to be covering some of the use cases on Microsoft Azure when it comes to deploying the Elastic Stack, as well as how you can integrate it and how you can leverage it to create solutions for your business. So in the talk, we're going to be covering the deployment options for how you can deploy Elastic on Microsoft Azure. We're also going to be talking about some of the integration opportunities between the Elastic Stack and ecosystem, as well as the Microsoft ecosystem. Then we're going to cover some of the partner use cases where customers are using the different solutions to create software for their customers on Elastic. And then I will talk about some of the things that customers like to hear about, which is figuring out how much it's going to cost based on my particular use case. So the Elastic team has created a calculator that allows you to do that. And I will cover that briefly and share the link for how you can access. So now we're going to take a look at some of the deployment options for Elastic on Microsoft Azure. Now, this has to do with two options. So the two main options are you can either allow Elastic and Azure to provision and maintain everything for you, or you can choose to manage it yourself. So sometimes customers may struggle between having the responsibility of provisioning the environment and maintaining everything themselves, or having to have someone else do that for you so that you can just focus on your core business. So those are the two options that we have. In terms of the fully managed versus the self-managed options, we have the Elastic Cloud offering on Azure. So if you're looking for something that is already pre-baked and all you have to do is take the specifications, provide what you need, and then the environment will be set up for you from scratch. That is the Elastic offering on Azure. So this is available from the marketplace, and towards the end of the talk, there will be a link where you can find all these resources for you to get started right away. So the fully managed offering is one of the options that we typically recommend for our customers because they may not have the expertise to provision the environment, to understand exactly what replicas are, what sharding is, the exact machine that you need to set up this environment to support your use case. So if you are trying to get up and running and you don't really have the expertise, or sometimes even if you have the expertise, you don't really have the manpower available to provision this environment, to maintain it, to tune it into a way that will match your use case, going with the fully managed offering on Azure is what we typically recommend. So with this one, all you have to do, just like these croissants, you just pick it up and you're up and going. Now, if you are an expert baker and you understand exactly what it takes to provision the environment and you can fully customize everything yourself, then sometimes this happens in development environment and environments outside of production. So if you don't want to provision Elastic Cloud for your development environment or your local environment, we have customers that are setting up the Elastic Stack, the enterprise version on virtual machines, and sometimes they may also set it up on Kubernetes. So with the virtual machine option, you can use Ansible to automate that, and there's a playbook for you to do that. You can also use the Helm charts and as well as the Elastic operator that's available for Kubernetes. So the self-managed option is something that you can do if you fully understand what is needed to set up the environment, what is needed to tune it to match your own use case. So with that strategy, you can set up your environment and you have full control. But also with the control comes the responsibility, which you have to understand exactly what it takes to maintain it so that you don't run into issues like performance and security vulnerabilities. So we typically recommend the fully managed option if you're not really familiar with how to do so yourself. And you can use the self-managed option maybe in lower environments and environments that are not production. That's generally the guidance. So now that we have covered how you can deploy Elastic on Azure, the next thing I want to talk about is how you can integrate the Elastic environment that you have with your Azure ecosystem. So there are several mechanisms to do that. I'm going to talk about that one at a time. So now with some financial service customers, as well as some healthcare customers, and there are some retail and education customers that want their Azure ecosystem to integrate with the Elastic ecosystem without having to go through any kind of public internet. So to do that, with the latest offering for the Elastic Cloud on Azure, we are able to provision everything using Azure Private Link. And because of this, there is no need for you to route your traffic between your application or between your data pipeline over the internet to the Elastic system. Everything happens through the Azure backbone, and it's fully secure. And that way you have peace of mind that your traffic will not be leaked or somebody cannot intercept what is happening between your apps or your workloads between your system and the Elastic system. So the Azure Private Link allows you to communicate using the Azure backbone and using a private network without having to send anything over the public internet. So that is one way we can integrate with Elastic. The next way, thing is to do with snapshots. So by integrating with Azure Blob Storage, you are able to capture all these snapshots, and you don't have to worry about losing your data. So if something were to happen and you were to want to restore your snapshots back, you can easily do that using the integration that we have between the Elastic Stack and the Azure Blob Storage to do the snapshots. The next thing now is the simplified portal experience. So this is something that customers have been asking for several years, and recently the Elastic team and the Azure team made this possible. Basically, before now, you had to go to the marketplace and then deploy your Elasticsearch instance or your Elastic Stack instances using a different portal. So that was kind of like disconnected. And because of that, it led to some inconsistency in the performance and the expectation of the customer. So now with this simplified portal experience, you can do everything inside the Azure portal, and you can deploy and monitor your resources inside a particular resource group. So this is just like deploying any other Azure platform solution inside the Azure portal. So this simplified customer experience allows you to deploy your resources, and also to monitor your resources, and also to maintain your resources in the same environment that you have all your other resources, and you can see everything using one consistent experience. So this has really improved the customer experience and simplify the amount of work that you have to do. The next thing I want to talk about is also merging the billing experience. So before now, you used to have to receive a separate bill from Azure and also another separate bill from Elastic. But now that this integration has happened, you are now able to see your Elastic Stack bill as just one of the line items inside your Azure bill for your subscription. So this has really simplified things for customer, both the portal experience, which is the user interface for provisioning and maintaining your resources, as well as the billing experience is also simplified. And it makes things a lot easier for you to get started and to keep going. The next thing I want to talk about, this is for customers that do logging and monitoring. So if you're using the Elastic Stack to capture logs, to monitor it using Kibana and Logstash and any of those other aggregation mechanisms that pipe data into the Elastic Stack, you're going to find out that storage is one of the things that you have to be concerned about, because some people may receive gigs of data in a particular day. Some may receive sometimes terabytes within a week. So because of that, storage can become a significant part of your expense. So in order for us to decouple the storage layer from the compute layer in your Elastic Stack, there is this feature called tiered storage integration, where you can use Azure Storage to keep track of the log data, and you can see be able to query your Elasticsearch instance, and that would find those logs inside the Azure storage. So this allows you to decouple the compute that is needed to do the search operations from the storage that is needed. So we don't have to increase the virtual machine count every time we need to expand the storage that we need. So the tier storage integration between the Elastic Stack and the Azure storage ecosystem allows you to decouple your storage needs from your compute needs, and that allows you to scale almost infinitely when you're using Elastic for monitoring and logging. The next thing I want to cover is role-based access control. So this is another integration opportunity between the Elastic Stack and the Azure ecosystem, where Azure Active Directory and all the different flavors that come with it can be used to control which documents, which records, which indices you are able to access in the Elasticsearch instance. So when it comes to maybe healthcare records or financial service records, or even any other application where you want to partition and isolate access based on maybe the membership of a particular user or a particular customer, using role-based access control comes in really handy because it simplifies the management of the authentication of the user to verify the identity, and also the access and the different regions of your Elasticsearch cluster where they're able to access. So having role-based access control is something that several customers have requested, and this feature is tightly integrated with Azure Active Directory, and you can use this security mechanism to control and isolate different customers from what they're able to access in your Elasticsearch instances. Another thing I want to talk about is synchronizing your document store or your databases with Elasticsearch. So to do this, we use Kafka Connect. Kafka Connect is a mechanism, if you're not familiar with, that is available from the Apache Kafka ecosystem. So on Azure, you can deploy your Kafka cluster using Confluent Cloud or using any other Kafka environment that we offer, like Azure HD Inside. So once your brokers are set up and your Connect instances are set up, you can now synchronize data that is coming in from several data stores into your Kafka broker. And once it arrives in your Kafka broker, you can now pipe this or send it out to Elasticsearch. So there are several customers that have the primary source of truth in one of these different data stores. So the data store could be Cosmos DB, the data store could be Microsoft SQL Server, the data store could be an open source database like PostgreSQL or MySQL, or even something like a blob storage. So based on where your primary data store is, you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is to make sure that you can still continue to keep the changes that are happening there, or the inserts, or the updates, or the deletes. You continue to put it there, but then you can use Kafka Connect to synchronize all those changes that are happening in your primary origin data store and put those into Elasticsearch, because Elasticsearch is the primary search service that you have, and you don't have to worry about synchronizing, creating batch jobs or creating schedulers to move the data and all the changes from your origin store into your search store. So using Kafka Connect, we're able to simplify the synchronization, and all you have to do is focus on setting up the index, setting up the connector, and then everything happens automatically, and you can stream the changes to your Elastic instance. So the next thing I want to talk about is certain batch workloads. Sometimes you may have historical data and you want to use Apache Flink, or you want to use Spark through Azure Databricks to refine the data, to merge multiple historical data together. And then once that is processed, you can you can now push that into Elasticsearch. So Elasticsearch has several connectors that work with Apache Flink, as well as Azure Databricks through Spark. And you can use this as well to synchronize and to stream or batch your changes, depending on whether you're using Flink or a Spark. And then you can push all those changes from the Spark jobs or for the Flink jobs into Elasticsearch. And that connector is available for you to use, if you're interested. The next thing I want to talk about now is customer use cases. So primarily, the two use cases I'm going to cover is going to be the app search use case and the monitoring use case. So we have several customers that want to run the Elastic Stack both in the on-prem environment and in the Azure environment. So to do this, they may set up Logstash, they may set up Fluentd on all the different machines to run as agents. And then they push those changes into the Elastic instance on Azure. And then they can use Kibana to monitor everything that is going on. The other scenario is search, which retail customers and financial service customers typically want to use Elasticsearch because of the integration with role-based access control and some of these other advanced capabilities. And they can use that to set up their search systems to to provide the search needs that are required for the particular application or for the particular use case that they have to set up. So the final thing I want to cover right now is the planning for capacity and for cost management. So a lot of times, customers or partners might pause because they hear all these different features that are available and all these capabilities, but they're not sure exactly how much it's going to cost them to get started. So this is something that I would like you to take a look. If you pull out your phone and you can point it to this QR code, you should be able to head out to the pricing calculator. And what's available here is typically you pick the environment you want to provision, you pick the particular use case that applies to you, and you pick the particular subscription package you need. And once that is done, then you can be able to see exactly how much it's going to cost you depending on your particular use case. So you don't have to guess based on what another customer did or based on what another team did, even in the same company. You can just customize it based on your own particular use case and experience and your own support needs. And you're going to find out exactly the pricing and the cost, that is going to be required for that particular use case. So this is something that I wanted to highlight because a lot of times we can talk about all these cool features and all these integrations, but the pricing, may slow you down or may make you to hesitate before you get started. So taking a look at this pricing calculator helps you to get rid of all those fear, and you can get started right away without having to hesitate or pause about the cost. So in summary, we covered all the different mechanisms for how to deploy the Elastic Stack on Microsoft Azure. The first one was the fully managed option, which we strongly recommend. And then the second one is the self-managed option, either on Kubernetes or virtual machines for typically lower environments where you want to have full control over the environment. So those are the two deployment options that we have. And then in terms of opportunities for you to integrate between the Elastic ecosystem and the Azure ecosystem or even several open source ecosystems, we covered, tiered storage, we covered the connectors, and we covered all the role-based access controls where you can integrate with Azure Active Directory. So all those integration opportunities are available, and I'm going to be sharing a link at the end of the talk about how you can access all those resources. Then we covered those partner use cases, particularly the ones that have to do with monitoring and search. So if this applies to you, we have some resources to get you started, and we even have some upcoming events sometime in October of this year that will walk you through exact scenarios of how to provision the environment, how to build the app, what to do and what not to do, and some of the best practices in which you can use to build those use cases. So on this particular resource page, I will share the link to the upcoming event where you can connect with us to find out exactly how to do this. And then we covered planning and cost estimation. So this is one area where you might want to hesitate or pause. But I think if you understand exactly how much it's going to cost you to set up your environment to match your own use case, then that fear, is completely eliminated, and you can get started right away without having to hesitate or wonder how much it's going to cost you to get started. So if you, want to take the next steps to get started, you can point your your camera to this particular QR code, and that will take you to the page where you will find a list of resources on how you can deploy Elastic on Azure, how you can integrate between the Elastic ecosystem and Azure, and also the link to the pricing calculator will help you to get started with the estimation of the cost for your particular use case. And also, if you like, what I said today, you can follow me on some of the social media platforms available like Twitter YouTube, and my GitHub repo has several, Elastic content where you can get started with your own scenario. And then you can also follow me on my website at easyacademy.com. And I want to thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for your participation. I'm going to be hanging around. If you have any questions about any of the deployment strategies that I mentioned today, any of the use cases, and any of the integration opportunities between the Elastic Stack and the Azure ecosystem, please feel free to share those questions either in the chat or come on camera and ask those questions, and I'll be available to answer. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the conference, and I will connect with you soon. Thank you very much.